It's your boy Crown Latrell, and you're watching a 416 interview.
What first drew you into music, and how did your journey begin in Toronto's music scene?
What first drew me into music? So I've been into music since I was like really young. A lot of my close friends know that like when I was younger, I used to dance and so forth, and I used to dance professionally at one point. So music was always like in my life, but I was always singing like just behind the scenes at home and so forth. So I always wanted to get into it. But what drew me to it was just, I guess, being able to express yourself, you know?
Yeah.
I felt like at that time, at least, when I was younger, it was like growing up and realizing like people care, but they don't actually care. Like, how do I express it? People like don't care when you actually express your emotions towards them as much as you would perceive they do. I realized when I was putting it in music, that's when people cared more. That's when people would listen more. They'd be like, I would say something in a song, and people would be like, yo, I heard you say this in your song. Like, are you good? Are you depressed? And it's like, oh, what the fuck? It's like, no, I'm good now. But it's like, maybe when I made the song, I was depressed. But it was like, you know, I feel like people didn't really hear me at that point unless it was on a record. So, yeah.
I bet. And what were like some of your earliest music influences that really like made you hop in the booth and actually start recording?
Obviously, like, in terms of music, I feel like everybody that listens to like R&B or some shit likes Michael Jackson. But I feel like what kind of the person that really, I guess, really inspired me, got me into music, or the feeling of music at first, was Kanye.
Oh,
Yeah. There's this song, I can't remember the name because I'm blanking out, but one of his songs with Kid Cudi on the 808s and Heartbreak album. I remember when I first heard the song, it's like those dark ass violins or whatever at the beginning. I don't know, it gave me like a weird feeling, and I didn't know how to take the feeling, but I liked it. And then from there, it was like, whoa, like if music can make you feel like that, it was like, you know, so definitely Kanye. And then there's like obviously a lot of artists as time goes on, but I feel like in terms of what really drew me into starting music and inspiring me at first was Kanye.
I think you might have said this in another interview, that you just started making music with just a mic and a laptop in your bedroom?
Yeah, so somewhat like that. That is kind of like yes and no, because like I guess like I got like music equipment fairly young when I was finally able to.
Yeah.
And then I tried learning, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing, you know? So I made like one song that sounded like how any song would sound if you're first time recording yourself. And only like one or two of my friends know about that song.
You never dropped it, I'm assuming, right?
Dropped it for like a little bit,
Oh,
and then
okay.
I took it down. But yeah, but actually, like the real story is that actually my first recording, like when I first actually started recording, it wasn't really at home. I kind of had the equipment, but I kind of actually had the fortunate opportunity of actually starting in the studio.
Oh, shit.
So like I kind of went from studio to learning the process in there, and then bringing that process at home. And now like I still record in the studio, but I like do a lot of my own shit, you know what I mean? Or I'll kind of finalize the song and then send it to the engineer to give it the final mix and master, you know?
Talk to me about your creative process when you do create a song. Like, are you a freestyler? Do you like to write? How does that look like?
I have done the whole like freestyling before, and I do freestyle to an extent. It's kind of like I kind of hear the beat and I make melodies, or a melody based off of what I'm hearing. And when I'm making melodies, I'm saying shit, but sometimes I'm not. And then from there, I kind of just fill in the words that I don't already have. But even then, so at least for me, whenever I record like that, or I'm around people that record like that, even through the mumbles, I can hear words.
Yeah.
and hear cool bridges and hooks and so forth. So yeah, that's kind of how I go about it. It's just freestyling a melody throughout the whole song, maybe a couple takes, and just seeing which one I vibe with more and just going with that.
Your projects, sorry, Before the Fame and Floor 13 were, kind of early milestones in your career that really made a splash in the music scene, I feel like at least. How did those, how did you view those projects when they first came out?
I mean, Before the Fame was a very long time ago.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so that, when I made Before the Fame, I had like a few songs on there that people loved, but that was like really like the beginning of me like figuring out my sound. So I had one song that actually got me a little bit of clout in Toronto called Mention.
Okay.
And yeah, like even when I would travel outside the city and I would meet people, they'd be like, oh yeah, I listened to that song. And I'll be like, what the fuck? So that...
But how does that make you feel though?
Obviously amazing, because
Yeah.
people are actually listening. It's like you're far out of like your city and people are still hearing you, you know what I mean? And like that was like the beginning of me just like working closely with certain producers, hands-on, like in the studio, making the beats, because I would co-produce a lot of my stuff. So we'd just be sitting in the studio at like either 2, 3 a.m., 10 p.m., 10 a.m., just in the studio and just cooking up, writing, making beats, everything. So that's kind of how that project came along. And then Floor 13, I feel like Floor 13 was like a bigger milestone for me just because like the intention and like the era and what it did. I feel like Floor 13 kind of solidified like a cult listening, a small cult listening for me, where people were really like, yo, I can relate to this guy, and like, yo, your music is actually helping me get through some dark times. And it's like, I made that when I was going through some shit and just trying to like figure shit out. And a lot of that project, I wasn't really, like some of that project, I was sent, the beats were made by my boy A Money, who produced my new upcoming project, Void Music. But yeah, a lot of that I recorded alone, just with my engineer solo. Just on the weekends, I would get like some guap every weekend and just go to the studio every weekend and record those songs. And just me and my studio alone, me and my engineer alone in the studio, just locking in. And yeah, so those milestones made me feel pretty dope though, because like people really heard those projects and like fucked with me from it. And I was just dropping, I wasn't thinking too hard, you know what I mean? I wasn't worried about numbers, I wasn't worried about shit. I just dropped that and like people were fucking with it. So yeah, that's all you can really ask for at those times,
Facts. And then how do you work with like music video directors and like creators to bring your like music videos to life? Because like, the music video you have for 13, it has a lot of strong narrative elements. So what's that kind of look like?
So like, I'm like really hands-on with everything just because I feel like no one really knows your image or like what you want better than you. So like with working with directors, like even to this day, it's kind of like co-directing or directing a lot of my stuff, you know what I mean? So even with that video, I was working with one of my close homies, Dizzy De Niro at the time, and she was working with this program at the time like called POV or some it's like a film program. Okay. And like they were tasked to make like a project, so like that time, like we were trying to pick between either 13 or The Hills, because there was like a couple songs on that project that a lot of people were feeling. 13, The Hills, Not the One, and Moon Pills, and Star. And yeah, so I was like, okay, yo, I can't just do one song. Let's kind of try to fit 2 in 1. Just if we're gonna do like this big video, try to do 2 in 1. And just like me and Diz came up with the concept. We like scouted all the locations. We shot like the Hills part in like an old abandoned like Nazi camp. Oh. Yeah, that's what it was. Crazy. Yeah. Fuck. Like, yeah, so like kind of just collaborating on the ideas and scouting, putting in the work, writing out the shot lists, you know what I mean? Even to this day, like everything's like me and my directors, whoever I'm working with, is just either collabed or I'm just completely bringing the idea to them, and all they got to do is like hold the camera, Yeah. So that's kind of what it is. But I like doing that because it kind of puts me in the position to like make sure everything is perfect. And like even past 13 The Hills music video, I felt like there's just so much progression in the visuals, you know what I mean? So
What do you look for in a collaborator when it comes to music? When it comes to like an artist?
like when I'm collaborating,
Yeah, with an artist. Like, what are you looking for?
I like, I'm looking for like just like a certain type of energy, whether it's just like when you're on the track, it's like you're just in flow state, you know what I mean? It's someone that knows how to just make a song more than just the beat, can add vocal texture, can add like their own twist. Like when I hear beat or an artist hears a beat, are they just gonna come on it in the most basic way, or they're gonna do some out of the box, you know what I mean? And then also just that chemistry for sure. I feel like I also like, I've worked with artists in terms of sending music and so forth, and that's cool, but some of the best songs I've made with other people is like when I'm sitting with them and we're cultivating the song together.
Okay,
You know what I mean? So I feel like some of my best songs that I've collabed with people came through like that. And or like even if we weren't sitting and doing it together, it's like we kind of already have that relationship or that chemistry where we fuck with each other, where it's like, okay, like I get on this a certain way, or I do this because I know like he's gonna spaz on it that way, you know what I mean? So chemistry and just like that uniqueness, you know what I mean? That's the type of shit I look for.
Bet. And then what's the best advice you've ever been given? And
Best advice is to never take any advice.
damn, really?
Yes. Yeah, bro.
Why is that the best
Shout
advice?
out to Parkdale Prince. Huh? Sorry?
Why is that the best advice you've ever been?
Because like dead ass, like even in my career, it's like unless you need the advice because you specifically don't know something and you're seeking the information, I just feel like a lot of the times when I've had the craziest moments or experiences or dopest shit that popped off was like when I didn't listen to anyone else, I was kind of doing my own thing or doing the shit that I know I needed to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like everyone could give you advice, but it's like people aren't seeing things through your vision, aren't seeing things through your lens, don't know what your experiences are, don't know what the fuck it is you're actually going through, or what type of resources you may or may not have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so people are just speaking from their own limitations. So sometimes it's like it's not the best to take advice because it's like, if they were in your position, would they be taking the same advice they're giving you? Probably not.
No.
So you know the best, you know you better than anybody else. So it's like, don't take nobody else's advice unless you're seeking that information, or unless it's coming from somebody that is done what you're trying to do or is in the position you're trying to get in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right, and then lastly, you know, what's next for you? What do you got coming up in 2026?
2026, Void fucking music on the way. So yeah, I have a project called Void Music on the way. I already have How I Pop out for it, and people are feeling that. So it's a new twist on my music, you know what I mean? I feel like it's kind of this, not the same vibes as Floor 13. I feel like a more experimental, hype version of Floor 13.
Okay, fire.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely gonna put that out, and after that, just spaz and keep putting more shit out. I feel like it's just that time, you know. I feel like I was kind of not on a hiatus. I was still dropping, but just focused on just cultivating a dope catalog to release, and I got about like 2 or 3 projects worth of music just in the stash. So I'm just ready to put it out now, you know.